on this next page, we're going to talk about domain and range, and we're also going to talk about 3 different ways of representing a relationship: ordered pairs, a graph, and a table. So I'm going to start in this case, right? Basically, I'll be given one box on each line. So in this case, I'm given ordered pairs. So I'm going to first make them into a graph and make them into a table, and then I'm going to work on the domain and range and whether it's a function or not. So let's start with, so 0, 4 is here, right? This means don't go left and right, just go up. 2, 3, 4. That's 0, 4. Negative 3, 2. 2, 3, 2. 4, negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 5. And negative 1, negative 2. That's left 1, down 2. Okay, so there are my 4 points. I think you can see those okay on the camera, right? Try to get you a clearer view here. I think that might be a little better. So here they are in the graph, right? And then if I take these same points and I transfer them to the table, I just need to be a little bit careful. I'm sorry, I'm just adjusting the light. Which is, on a table, what I do is I make sure that the x values are in order from least to greatest, right? So here, when I look at the x values, the smallest one is negative 3, right? So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this one first. I'm just going to put a little x next to it. Remember, so this is negative 3, right? And it's when x is negative 3, y is 2. The next one is negative 1. So we put negative 1, negative 2. And then the next one is 0, 4. And the next one is 4, negative 5. Okay, so that's my table, my graph, and my ordered pairs. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the domain and range. Now, let's do this the easy way, right? Which is to use the easiest method of getting the domain and range. And I would say the table is the easiest, especially for the domain, because it's actually already in order. So here is the domain. It's negative 3, negative 1, 0, and 4. And then I close my brackets. Okay, now I want to point out, I could have done it from the ordered pairs, right? I could have just pulled the x values. I could have even done it from the graph. I could have just started on the left and said, okay, what's this? That's negative 3, right? Keep going. That's negative 1. Keep going. That's 0. Keep going. That's 4. And that would have been my domain. Okay? So range. Now range I could pull from here. I could pull from here. I could pull from here. I'm going to pull from the graph just for the sake of doing something different. So with the range, remember I want to go in order. So from least to greatest, if I'm looking for y values, I would start from the bottom. So I'm going to just start from here and move up, and I see the first here, and that's negative 5. And if I keep going up, I get to a point that's at a y value of negative 2. And if I keep moving up, I get to a y value of positive 2. And if I keep moving up, I get to a y value of 4. And that's my range. And I need to ask myself, is this a function? And so lots of ways I could do that. I could look at the inputs. I could notice there's no repeats in the inputs, so that means that no input has more than one output, so that would tell me it's a function. I could use the graph, and I could use the vertical line test, and I could see that this no vertical line hits it more than once. Either way, that will tell me it's a function. Okay, so I've done my domain and range and function after taking care of my 3 representations. Next one. In this one, I'm given a table. Now notice, in this case, I'm given the xy table sideways. Okay, so if it's like this, the x is always on the left and the y on the right. If it's sideways like this, the x is always on the top, the y is on the bottom. But it's the same, right? Which is input, output, input, output, input, output, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and do the ordered pairs first. So this is negative 3, negative 1, 0, 0, 2, 3, and 2, 2. And you may have already noticed that there's this issue where this input 2 has 2 outputs. So you may already be thinking, oh, you know what? This is not a function. And that's fine. If you notice that early on, you can note that. Okay, I'm going to graph these. So -3, -1, 0, 0, 2, 3, and 2, 2. And look, I noticed that those 2 points, right, they have the same input and different outputs. They land on a vertical line, which we know means this is not a function. So let's do the domain and range. Again, the domain is really easy once I have a table. It's just in order. So I'm gonna do the domain from the table. So I have -3, 0, 2. There's another 2, but I don't do repeats, so I'm done. And then the range. And so the range, remember, I go from least to greatest, so it looks like the least is -1, followed by 0, and then 2 is next, and then 3. Okay, so there's my domain and range. I'm going to do the last one. Now look, if you feel like you can do it, pause it, and then you try, and then check. Okay, because on the back, when you go to do the back, those you're actually going to get checked. And so if you want to try it right now, you can. Okay, this time I'm given a graph. So I'm going to start with the ordered pairs here. -1, 1. I'm just going to put like a little X so I know that I did that one already. This is -4, 5. This one is 3, -2. And the last one is 2, 4. Okay. And then let's do the table. So my X values, and remember the table, I have to put the X values from least to greatest. And so I can actually even just look at the graph and go sort of from left to right, right? This was -4. And what was my output for -4? It was 5, followed by -1, 1, then 2, 4, and 3, -2. Okay. Now, putting numbers in order is not the hardest thing, but it is like just a matter of detail and paying attention. So please make sure that you always put the X values in order on any table. Okay. With ordered pairs, order doesn't matter. With graphs, obviously the points go where they go. And then domain and range, again, the order does matter. The table makes it easy for the domain. And then the range, let's see, we got to go in order. So negatives first, right? And then there's no 0, so 1, then 4, then 5. And then is this a function? Yeah, it is, right? There's no repeat here, so no input has more than one output. I can look at the graph and use the vertical line test, but this is a function. Oops, sorry, this is a function. Okay, so now you can flip to the back and try those 3 on your own.